Presentations and proclamations. First, we have presentation by Burke, Williams, and Sorensen, LLP. So at this time, we have introduction and proposed legal services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You can adjust the microphone to your pleasing, or you can even take it out if it's better for you.
Okay, that works.
Fine.
Okay. Good evening, council. My name is Mark Barasa-Tran. I'm with the law firm of Burke, Williams, and Sorensen. My colleague.
Leah Costella. Nice to meet you all.
And we did email a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if it's available for our use. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here's an overview of what we'll be discussing today. We're going to summarize our proposal and introduce the Livingston core team. We'll be addressing why Burke is distinct and potentially how we can improve legal services. Next slide, please. Yeah, so Burke is a one-stop shop. There's very few, if any, legal issues relating to public law that we haven't addressed as a firm. We provide excellent and timely legal advice. We also provide unparalleled customer service and at a very reasonable fee structure which reflects our clientele, public agency clients, which of course use public dollars. And we do our part to protect the public fisc. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of the proposed team for Livingston, there'd be city attorney. I'd be stepping into that role. The planning commission component, we'll have labor and employment counsel, any type of franchising issues that might arise, code enforcement, litigation, housing, elections, as well as our litigation folks. That's me. About a decade of public law experience at this point. I previously served as a city attorney for the city of Adelanto and the assistant city attorney for the cities of Bell Gardens and La Puente. Those were, of course, down in Southern California. I'm extremely well versed in the Brown Act and conflict of interest laws, land use and planning issues, and I have substantial experience in all aspects of public law. Okay.
And that is me, even though you might not recognize it since the picture is old and my hair is much longer. So I'm Leah Costella. I am on the proposal as the assistant city attorney, and we structure proposals that way because we do think it is really important for all of our clients to make sure that you have constant and consistent representation, and no one person is always available, but two people are typically always available. I have been practicing, even that is a little wrong, it's probably closer to 25 years now, which I don't like to admit, but about 15 years of experience in public law. I have extensive experience as a general counsel. I don't work as a city attorney right now, but I'm the general counsel for 2 wastewater sanitary districts and 1 water district. That's part of why I joined in this proposal, because you do have very robust water and wastewater utilities, which is something I have a lot of expertise on. I represent Union Sanitary District in Fremont, Central Contra Costa Sanitary District in Martinez, Iron House Sanitary District in Oakley, and Valley of the Moon Water District in Sonoma County, right outside of Sonoma. Next slide. I'm going to go quickly through the rest of our team. And one thing I will say is sometimes when you see a lot of names, it makes it seem like we're just throwing a lot of people at it, and that costs more money. But what we have learned in our extensive experience representing public agencies is that having folks with specific types of expertise is the best way to provide efficient service to our city clients. So Veronica Gray is one of our more junior associates, extensive experience in public law. She's sort of our go-to person on a whole host of regular day-to-day issues. Next slide. The next sort of set of our team are folks that in a perfect world, you don't need to see them a whole lot. Allison Hernandez is our personnel person. She will come in if there are employment disputes, advice that's required on policies related to employment. Mark Wilson is our labor and employment counsel. To the extent that you are negotiating MOUs with any represented units, that's where he would come in. And then Brian Hamlet is the tort liability litigation person. So those are typically covered disputes by your carrier, but we really like to have an internal person who is aware of any situations that are going to create liability for the city. Next slide. There's me again, same old picture. But Lisa Maxwell is our complex transactions person, primarily real estate, easements, other things like that. She really comes in with expertise and can resolve those very quickly. Alan Cohen is code enforcement to the extent that that's a significant issue. It's a real specialty. We like to have people who do it pretty consistently so that they can know the folks that they're up in front of. Next slide. Denise Pisano is sort of our planning guru, land use, housing, et cetera. I noticed in just kind of doing a little bit of an investigation into the issues that y'all have, you do have a fair number of development projects, and those often involve complex negotiations with developers, and so we like to bring in somebody who's very experienced with that to best represent the city. And then last, Davin Widrow, he's our specialty litigation environmental person. Certainly with water and wastewater, regulatory issues come up all the time, and I use him daily. Just today I got an email about a settlement with the EPA on some issue for one of my sanitary district clients, but he really has expertise. He worked for the Air Resources Board in San Diego, and so, kind of knows how the regulators work and think. Next slide. So this is just a quick taste of all of our city clients. You can see that they're spread around the state, Southern California, Central California, Northern California, but we really do have a wide range of cities, many sizes, shapes, et cetera. As Mark indicated, that expertise really means that it is rare that we see an issue that has not been addressed by someone in our firm before, and that allows us to provide you with efficient and cost-effective service. Next slide. And that is part of the distinction of Burke. Burke is a nearly 100-year-old firm. It was the first sort of primarily public agency firm in the state. It invented the contract city attorney model, which is what you are utilizing and what we're here to propose today, which is that you don't hire a full-time employee as your city attorney. You hire a contract person who can meet all of your needs more efficiently and, in my view, more economically. We provide the full range of legal advisory, transactional, and litigation services. We have 174 attorneys across, I believe, 10 offices, and then 90 management and support staff. Next slide. So Burke Williams generally, that we have 10 practice groups. Our primary practice is public, but that crosses over into a lot of other things: labor and employment, code enforcement, environmental. All of these are sort of separate practice groups in the firm. Litigation, I'm actually the chair of the firm's litigation practice group. So in addition to my general counsel work, I do and really monitor a lot of litigation for our city attorney and for my general counsel clients. We really are a brain trust with decades of experience. A number of, I think it was 2 years ago, one of our partners was the president of the League of California Cities. We've had other past presidents of the League of California Cities. We really do have a deep bench and deep knowledge of public law. And as a result, we have specialists to meet all of your legal needs. When you represent over 200 government entities, which the firm does, it's hard to stump us. You might be able to stump me, but I can then reach out to the rest of the firm and find the answer. Sometimes at a council meeting, you just send an email out to the group, and by the time the person needs an answer to the question, you have it in front of you, which is very valuable. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have 10 offices throughout the state. We really do kind of run, and we're not too far north. I think the furthest north we have is Marin, but kind of Marin south, we have a number of offices. And then next slide. And we have a tremendous amount of public law expertise. These are some of the specific things, and you'll see these kind of track to the people that we've included on the proposal so that you can see their expertise. One that we did not include is public construction. That's actually something that I handle pretty extensively, particularly for my wastewater and water clients. They are building things all the time, and so we don't have a specific person for that because that's a task that I would take on. And I'll turn it back over to Mark to finish out the proposal.
Thank you, Leah. If I can get the next slide, please. So Burke is unique. We do have large firm resources. For example, we have a library team, and our librarians every day they send headlines from the Daily Journal, new cases from the California Supreme Court, Courts of Appeal, and of course the U.S. Supreme Court. But it has a small firm feel in that we really do tailor our approach to each and every one of our clients. We bring experience and expertise to the table. Value, I do want to pause there in terms of value added, and this is linked to us having so many public agency clients. Again, usually if one person is working on it, multiple clients can benefit from the exact same thing. So we do try to provide cost savings where we can for our public agency clients. And then from there, I'm going to jump into the next slide. So improving your legal services. So starting with communication and integration, the city attorney, of course, works very closely with the city manager, other members of the city staff, as well as the council. And so we try to, one, take direction from the city manager in terms of how often we communicate, whether it's at the weekly staff meeting or something more frequent, things like that. And on the practical advice issue, we do try our best to, provide easy to understand legal advice. It's one thing to, read a very dense legal opinion from a lot of really smart judges, but it's something else to translate that into something that, your community can understand. So again, we try to provide practical advice where we can. And also, we want to focus on a long-term relationship with our public agency clients and be invested in the communities that we serve. Yes, I did address some of this in the prior slide, but we do believe that communication is key. So that means providing clear, concise, and understandable advice. And we do want to learn and know what you as a council and your constituents care about, and we will find a way to tailor our approach to match your local preferences. Typically, we can avoid pitfalls with being involved early on in providing advice before something potentially matures into litigation. If it does, that's when I hand things over to Leah. We also provide practical, again, real-world advice. And we know that the law is just one of many relevant factors. Sometimes there's non-monetary issues, policy issues that might be important to the city that go beyond just what the black letter law says. We try to focus on solutions and a path forward. We face so many challenges on a daily basis, so it's one of those things where sometimes we got to address it and find a way to move on. We do provide risk assessment and cost-benefit analyses to help weigh decisions that the council might have to make. And finally, the role of the city attorney, it differs from client to client, and that will depend. How we approach this, it will depend mostly on what the city's preference is. So again, we try to tailor and provide a match the local preference.
And I'll just add one thing there, because I do think it's really important to recognize that the city, we also really take seriously the notion that we are not the policymakers. You all are the policymakers. Our job is to explain the risks and benefits of a particular path of action, and then do everything we can to effectuate your objectives as the policymaker. That's sort of a fundamental reality of the city attorney or general counsel role that we take very seriously.
Next slide, please. Okay, so for the city attorney team, there's going to be one point of contact, just so that there's a way to, just a hub of information. So if there's any pending issue, you'd be able to reach out to me and say, hey, what's the status on this one Public Records Act request? I would know where to look for that answer and have, a status update readily available. Also, focused attention and the core team really working well together. I got to say that everyone that we've put on this proposal is very responsive. Usually I can get them on the phone within an hour. or at least a text message, something like that. So we do work very closely together, and we're very responsive. And these are collaborative relationships that we've built up with each other as a team. Finally, backup. That means if I fall ill or something like that happens, you have access to Leah as well as the other members of the team. And also flexibility. So again, we'll have to learn more from the city, but it could be something where we could scale up, scale down to meet the city's needs. Okay, and I think that should take us to our final slide. Okay, I know we went through a lot of material very quickly. We wanted to save some time for Q&A.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, this question either for Mr. Travis and whoever wants to answer. And I'm going to ask for both firms the same questions. That way, if we go through and we award the contract, when is the likely time of starting service?
As soon as you'd like us to start.
There's no delay on our end. I mean, we can start as soon as you tell us to go. I mean, obviously the contract needs to be adopted, but, in a lot of instances, we can start providing some assistance even before you sort of take the contract to public
No,
session.
I was referring after the contract, if awarded, after it's been signed, when can you officially take over? Because, yeah, because,
Be instantaneous.
huh?
It would likely be, as soon as you approve the contract, that would be your
Yeah.
contract city attorney.
Yeah, I
You
know.
would be at the next
Work with
meeting.
them to transition.
Okay, yeah. And then also, as you know, currently, city council meets first and third Tuesday, and the planning commission meets on second Tuesday. And we're not sure if it's going to go, but say that you have special meetings, you guys are available? Because sometimes you have a special meeting on a different day, it calls for it, there's, agenda gets so, you have the flexibility to come on another day?
Yes, I do.
And there was also a minor conversation, we're not sure if it's going to change or not. There was an idea brought up by one of the council members to maybe hold our meetings on a different day instead of a Tuesday. We're not sure what's going to change or not change, but you have that flexibility to do that if meeting days change?
Yes, I would be available. Currently, I sort of help my colleagues in the capacity of a deputy city attorney and fixer. I'm brought in when things require my expertise, but I do not currently have any standing meetings that would prevent me from attending your regular council meetings, special council meetings, or if you decided to move your council meetings. We talk about that as well, of course.
Yeah, I understand it, but I just wanted to make sure, and I am going to ask the other law firm as well, but I just want to make sure, because usually sometimes, I don't know about how many cities you personally represent or you, but sometimes you have more than one city or one client that you represent, and you may have certain days that are committed to them as well. So I just wanted to make sure that there was flexibility.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So are you guys based out of Marin or San Francisco?
I'm based in our Marin office.
I am theoretically based in our Oakland office, but I actually live right down the 99 and work out of my home office in Acampo. So that's where I spend 90% of my working time.
Okay, yeah, I just had a concern over the travel time, so thank you.
So one of the questions that I had was actually both of them, the meeting dates, which is just to make sure there's no conflict of interest in regards to our normal meeting dates. And just for clarification, so if I remember correctly, there will be some travel time cost, or can you go more expand on that in regards to fees, costs?
Flexible. Yes. So the assigned office would be the Marin office. I think in the proposal we mentioned that we are flexible with the travel arrangement, and I'll say that there's a few ways that different firms do this, right? Some firms do portal to program. Others will do half-time. Others do, any sort of other arrangement. We on our end are flexible, but it would be from the Marin office, which I think today it was it 2 hours or something like that.
Okay.
Well, and one of the things that we try to do is to make sure that there's some value for the travel time that isn't just travel. I know I travel all over the Bay Area and use my phone as sort of a traveling office to take calls, have conversations, et cetera. I also tend to double up office hours on travel days. So I'll set meetings with staff on my board days in order to not sort of double dip or triple dip on travel, so that you're only paying for travel time, even though, Mark might be coming out to do office hours to meet with the city manager, then to attend the council meeting. So there's lots of ways that we can do that. And we really are very attentive to trying to be economical in how we spend your money, which is ultimately, and the public's money. It's something I think part of why we work for public entity firms is because we care about the public and public service. And part of that is being mindful of the money.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. So when it comes to flexibility of travel, you just mentioned office hours. Is there a standard procedure that Burke tends to take across the cities that it works with? 1 day a week, 1 day every 2 weeks? What do the provided office hours tend to look like?
It really differs city to city, and the demands of what the city needs. When I did work out in the city of Avalon, your travel day, your council day was the day that you provided office hours because of the Catalina Express going back and forth. And again, we'd have to talk to the city manager about how often we should be on site, if it should be, weekly, council days, things like that. And of course, we can make use of Zoom for meetings that don't fall on days where we have office hours, things like that.
Okay. I have a couple questions that were specifically requested by a resident, so I want to make sure I ask those. First one is, how much does the firm charge to provide a redacted invoice to a resident who might request one?
That's sort of a multi-question question, and I'll start by, I'd treat it as a Public Records Act request. So we'd work with the city clerk's office to process the request, and depending on the question, those records might not be disclosable under law. State law would prevent us, and because there's issues of attorney-client privilege, work products that might be triggered by that. And of course, depending on the complexity of the issue, it could be a one-off issue, right? For example, if there's a question of whether somebody reviewed a 10-page contract, how much time did that take versus this multi-year complex litigation. So shorter answer is the lawyerly answer of it depends.
Well, and I'll just supplement the answer, because one of my specialty practices is dealing with Public Records Act requests. I have frequently dealt with requests for invoices. Our sort of standard practice, which is very inexpensive for the city, is to provide the face page of the invoice, which just sort of shows total amount billed, but it doesn't show the itemization of the tasks. If that's not sufficient for the member of the public, sometimes it is. Sometimes they want the itemization. Then you sort of run into the issues that Mark referenced, which is you really do have to be careful about what you disclose, because the privilege doesn't belong to us, it belongs to you, and we can't waive it. And it can sometimes be costly and time-consuming to go through and redact, but that's something that we would do, and honestly have done and do quite frequently in consultation with the city and the city manager.
Right. Next question from resident, I believe it has to do with statute of limitations. So the question was, given the understanding that certain items are redacted because of current litigation, property negotiations, etc., at what point in time do current items that are redacted pass from being current to historical, which are subject to disclosure per the California Public Records Act?
So there's a...
Are we talking about at what point does the attorney-client privilege not apply to the items on the invoice? Is that... the question?
I think what they're trying to get at is at what point are they able to view, or is there a point where they're able to view records that are currently considered redacted? Is there a point where that statute of limitations expires? I think that's where they were trying to get.
So I think the legal standard is active or recently concluded litigation, but is that defined?
Well, and again, these are, I mean, kudos to the member of the public for sort of identifying these very complex legal questions. The short answer is the attorney-client privilege lives forever. But you all can waive the attorney-client privilege at any time. We would typically recommend that you don't do that. But if there is an invoice that relates to a matter that was resolved 4 years ago and a member of the public wanted it, it would ultimately be up to the council if they wanted to waive the attorney-client privilege as to the redacted items and then produce it to the public. But the actual attorney-client representation, that privilege, there is no statute of limitations on that privilege.
If I could add something, so I think that'd have to be balanced against the applicable retention policy as well, because the city only has to keep it for, so much time under the government code.
Okay, thank you. Next two questions are mine. I'll be very transparent about this. From a broad view, we mentioned the 10,000 feet altitude earlier. From a broad, high-level view, I view the public sector as a white-collar cartel. I mean, there are corruptions at all levels of government. I'm not accusing anybody in this room or in any specific agency, but we know the nature of our work. I'm not saying the private sector is much better, but we have more eyeballs than they do, certainly. And the reason I bring that up is because we all have access to direct and indirect incentives to take illegal and/or unethical actions that could benefit ourselves or people of our choosing. For the elected officials on the dais, this can come in the form of campaign donations. It can come in the form of kickbacks from potential developers. Kickbacks can exist on the city staff side as well. And for attorneys, it can be billables, right? You guys have billable hours that you need to meet. And so can the firm please speak to the balance that they find between meeting their billables requirement, but also working in the best interest of the city and making sure that we're being charged appropriately and we're not over subsidizing your firm?
Sure. So we only do work that we're asked to do. So that's something where we would seek direction from the council and the city manager to say, this is approved work, please review these contracts, or hey, help us with this particular case. So we don't make or invent our own work. And to address your question, we do have a billable requirement, but if there was any fraudulent billing, there'd be bigger issues like the California False Claims Act and potential procedures before the state bar. So there's a lot of protections in place to ensure that attorneys don't bill unethically.
And I'll just supplement that answer. I mean, if you do any research on me, you will see that I sort of cut my teeth as a public law lawyer doing presentations on government ethics. It is a big part of my practice. It's why government ethics and transparency. It is, to me, one of the most important components of a relationship with a public sector client is that the members of the community trust that you are acting in the best interest of the community. Because once you lose that trust, then everything just goes downhill from there. So I take very seriously, as does every person that works at the firm, and I'll note I'm an equity partner at the firm, so this is something that is very important to me. I take very seriously maintaining that relationship with all of our clients, having open conversations about bills, making sure that the client understands what's being billed, why it's being billed, and feels that it's fair. And if they don't, then we are very permissive in adjusting bills as necessary. And to Mark's point, we do the work that we are asked to do or that we need to do in order to protect the city, but we don't make up work. And I'll end with part of the benefit of a large law firm is no one client is worth enough to jeopardize our relationship in the state, our relationship in the firm, and our professional licenses. So I understand your concern, and I certainly see it from members of the public a lot, but it is something that we really do take deeply, deeply serious and work to develop a relationship of trust with the client and with the community.
Thank you. Last question is for Mark. Why public law?
Why public law? So I was a community organizer before I went to law school, and basic things like, wait, what are my First Amendment rights? Can I go hand out pamphlets, brochures at this shopping center or not? I didn't know, and then sort of that background combined with my family, we had a small Vietnamese restaurant where I grew up in Riverside, and we were just getting hit with a bunch of legal issues that we as a family did not know how to navigate. So those two sort of combined experiences pushed me into law school, and when I was a first-year law student looking for my 1L summer position, I ended up working for a judge who worked in public law, and I remember when she said the phrase municipal law, my brain just exploded. I was like, wait, say that again. So you're telling me that there's something I can do that involves government, politics, and the law, and I can, do this for a living? And that's when I caught the bug, and I never got rid of it, so I'm still here.
Thank you guys for your time.
Council, any other questions? All right, you're off the hook for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you,
thank you
guys.
for accommodating us going first. I appreciate that, as I'm about to go into another meeting by phone.
Perfect timing, 7:45.